going to take a few minutes to invite them one by one onto the stage, and then we'll have a little bit of a conversation with them, because it's important for us to understand what do they do, how do they do, and most importantly, why do they do. I'll go in alphabetic order because it's a very difficult task for us to prioritize amongst the 7 who are sitting here, because each of them is doing phenomenal work. So pardon me if your name is coming wherever it's coming. It's purely something that you can blame your parents on. It has nothing to do from my side. So starting with Dr. Chinnababu Sugdavali, please. Invite him onto the stage, and I'll request our children to join us in welcoming him with a pot of plant. And while the plant is coming on stage, let me just take, Thank you, Chinna. Chinnababu is an oncosurgeon, he's an oncologist, India's youngest robotic surgeon when he started that. And he is also the founder of Grace Cancer Foundation. Absolutely, he deserves much more than that. He's been known for his efforts to provide cancer screening free of cost through multiple mobile buses that he runs across the states of Telangana, Andhra Pradesh, Karnataka, and probably now in a few other states as we are progressing. He's extremely passionate, not just about the cure, but also about the awareness. And many of you may be aware, just 8 days from now, he's going to be doing the next edition of his Grace Cancer Run, which is largely towards the awareness to bring people more knowledge, how we can prevent and how we can do better with this. And like I said, he runs these mobile cancer screening camps across the states in these vans. I've had the good fortune of running a hospital jointly with him for about 5 months during the peak of COVID, and I know the dedication and the passion that he brings. We were both spending all our almost 24 hours in that hospital called Project Ashray during the COVID phase, where we converted 200 beds to run, and he was the one from a medical standpoint, which is what was most needed to be running that. So thank you very much, Dr. Chinnababu. With that, I'll move on to invite another phenomenal lady, Dr. Evita Fernandez, the chairman and managing trustee for the Fernandez Hospital. How many people in this room have something to do with Fernandez Hospital, either yourself or your children? Yeah. This is something I do every time I invite her, to embarrass her, to say that so many people's lives, you or the trust that you run, the trust that you run, and the hospital you've been running for 78 years now, has been doing to the city of Hyderabad, and now going tremendously beyond Hyderabad too. She's someone who's been championing the cause of natural birth practices, women's health, birthing through midwives, and phenomenal new standards in the work that they do at Fernandez Hospital, and we'll hear a little more from her as we go forward. So thank you, Dr. Evita, for joining us. With that, I'll move to Ms. Brigadier P. Ganesham, again a man who leads interaction, highly decorated officer from the Indian Defence. Before he took retirement, he's been a winner of the Vishish Seva Medal, a VSN medal, during his years in the Indian Army, and then has taken on, even during his service days, he spent a fair bit of time on innovation, on how things can change within the services. And after his superannuation, he's been doing phenomenal work in the space of innovation through honeybees, through National Innovation Forum, and multiple things, but most importantly through Palle Sujna, which is an organization he leads. And I think 3, if I'm not mistaken, 3 or 4 Padma Award winners, 3 Padma winners have come from Palle Sujna under the guidance of Brigadier Ganesham. Thank you very much, sir, for joining us this evening. With that, we move on to Mr. G.V. Ramanjanelu, Dr. E.V. Ramanjanelu, the founder of Center for Sustainable Agriculture. He is someone who, we talked about earlier about the civil services. We had Jayesh Garu, we had KP Garu talk about how tough these civil services are. Here's a gentleman who got through the civil services, decided to give that up because his passion lay in agriculture and organic agriculture, and has been running Center for Sustainable Agriculture for the last many decades, promoting organic farming. He's probably been responsible for converting 33, 34, what's the count of the districts to organic farming now?
Many villages.
At the last count that I knew, it was over 30 or 40 villages and districts to organic farming, and now has set up a phenomenal university, or not a university, academy, which is run in Nujividu, called the Krishna Sudha Academy, where they not only teach what they do, but they also demonstrate at this academy in Nujividu for organic farming. So thank you very much, Rami, for joining us. The youngest of our 7 leaders today who's joining us is the next person who I have the honor of introducing, Mayur Patnala, a BITS alum from Hyderabad, who is now formed Nirman as an organization and is doing some phenomenal work, not just in Hyderabad or in our state, but across the country, and very recently, as I hear from him, across the world, because they've opened chapters in the United States of America, and he's really bridging the gap of really bringing quality learning experiences to children. He's doing a lot of work in the rural parts of the country. Quite often it's almost impossible to catch him, because every time you call him, he's in some part of the country or some part of the villages where he's doing phenomenal work, including Kerala and then Andhra Pradesh, Vijayawada, where the floods recently affected many of us in those areas. So thank you very much, Mayur, for joining us. With that, I think I come to Suhaim. I talked a little bit about Suhaim already. Suhaim, after a fantastic IT career, where most people would be thinking that now I've arrived and this is where I want to go forward, he decided to move away from that and start focusing on something that he liked personally, and then how can he help others to focus on that, and founded the Yacht Club of Hyderabad, originally for him to get to be able to yacht in the sail in our lakes, but then slowly got people involved and does a phenomenal work now with a lot of the underserved children, including some of the children from Udbhav School, as we said earlier, and is doing some outstanding work in recognizing people and taking them on water sports across the world. And we'll hear a little more as we go along. And last but not the least is Sunita Krishnan, a Padma Shri awardee herself and a founder of an organization called Pratvana. She's been doing some phenomenal work, and I think KP alluded to some of that. She's been working in the very difficult space of rescuing people from the most dreaded profession that exists, which is about sexual assault, and rehabilitating sex workers, getting them out of that space. And I think the last count would be over 14,000 now, so 28,000. So I'm wrong by half. 28,000 people is what she has rescued from this dreaded profession, and does phenomenal work in that space. So thank you very much, Sunita, for joining us. And with that, I think we'll spend a little bit of time talking to each of them, because we've heard what they do. We know the impact that they are creating. But I think I'd like to have a conversation with all of you. I don't want to let people not see Sunita. So we'll have a little bit of a conversation over the next few minutes, really trying to understand more than what they do. Some of it we know and some of that we'll hear from them. But what got them started in this space, and what really drives them to the work that they do. And maybe this time around we'll go the reverse way. So Sunita, maybe we'll start with you. What can you talk to us a little bit about what got you started when you decided that this is the space you really want to make a difference?
Vivek, I'll start with a small semantic correction. You said I work with sex workers. I don't.
Rescue.
I don't rescue sex workers. I work on the space of sex trafficking, which is a form of human trafficking. And I come from a school of thought which believes sexual slavery is one of the worst forms of human rights violation. Now, coming to your question about what started me, I think all of us have our own reasons why we get into a particular space. Sometimes you're inspired by a person, or you think that you want to give back, and things like that. For me, it was an experience in my life. The experience of being sexually assaulted by 8 men. That transformed me. It transformed me in multiple ways because for the first time I could understand what exclusion means and what it means to be looked down upon for a crime that you've not committed and to be blamed for a crime, when you are nowhere part of the whole situation. So that kind of triggered an anger, and I was blessed, I would say, that I did not allow that anger to consume me, and I harnessed that anger to drive me to this mission to look at sex crime and sex trafficking. And for the last 37 years now, have been trying to fight and bring a safer world.
And what kind of on a daily basis? I know it's an extremely difficult space. I have a little bit of exposure, nothing compared to what you do, but it's an extremely difficult space. What gets you every morning the energy to go out and continue doing the phenomenal work you do?
So I think, Vivek, first you need to understand I'm fighting human trafficking, which is the second largest organized crime in the world. It is the fastest growing criminal enterprise, and it's $1 billion industry. KP sir is here, who's written a book, I think tip of iceberg, sir. So my day is about fighting a mafia. My day is about destroying the revenue of a huge criminal enterprise which is fast growing. So obviously they're not going to be garlanding me and saying, hello, how are you? This kind of a situation where people are speaking very highly of me is not the day-to-day thing. This is an exception to the rule. The day-to-day experience that we have is of humiliation, abuses, being physically assaulted, threatened, intimidated. But all of that is kind of a performance indicator for us that we are on the right track. So I wouldn't call that as challenges, but as markers for me to understand that I am on the right track, hitting the right people and getting the right results. But what keeps me going is, I don't know whether you understand the world of sex trafficking. This is a world where human beings are born, kept in slavery-like conditions, so that the libido of men in our society can be fulfilled. It could be a 3-year-old child, it could be a 5-year-old child, it could be a 10-year-old child, it could be a 30-year-old woman. Now they are brought there for being raped every day by 15 men, 20 men, 25 men, because that is the revenue model. When business has a revenue model, right? So the revenue model here is selling sexual services. So this is an extremely traumatized person who's coming into my space. My day starts and ends when I'm able to restore the smile on that person's face. For me, that is my partnership, that is my heart.
Outstanding, like I said, in the space where you do and the smiles that you bring to many, many more people. I know 28,000 is a small number compared to the people whose lives you would have touched even beyond that. So thank you for doing what you do. 28,900. So 29,000 may be the right number to take things. Thank you. With that, probably moving to you, Suhen. So what got you started? Lovely IT career, flying the world, developing products and solutions for the industry, and then suddenly the next day you find yourself somewhere else.
So I personally also have been sailing myself as a sport for many years, now 45 years. And so the first thing I saw was there is the social inequity of the fact that access, simple stuff like access to the lake does not exist. It's the common man. So anybody who wants to just go and access a lake, it simply does not exist. Which means you either have to be part of an elite organization like the Secunderabad Club or the Army or the Navy, or you'll be part of, you can just go and visit the lake from a tourism spot. General access to the lake as a sport, which I enjoyed all my life, was absolutely zero. So I just went to government and I said, this is fantastic. And the government support is quite amazing all through the last 15 years. And I just asked them to give me access. And it was given to me the next morning. It was actually given to me the next morning. So you just take it and then we'll work out the paperwork later. So what I told them basically was this, the common man and anybody needs to have access to the water and access to the sport, and I will provide everything else. So we built up the infrastructure, and now anybody can come and sail and learn, provided they want to get into competitive sport, completely free of charge. So that is what drove me. And then as we went along, it was about the affluent also wanting to be part of it versus the non-affluent, the underserved, also wanting to be part of it. For me, the challenge was working with the underserved. And of course, our association with Udbhav, our best sailors, as they go up the hierarchy, we just push them into Udbhav and say, look, you're taken care of there. There is no problem.
Thank you.
The best schools in the country, which is working with this. So that's a very strong association. Well, and all the government schools around us, and all the shanty towns, etc. So we pick up kids from there. So it's a great leverage, it's a great feeling of satisfaction taking them to the.
And if I was to ask you to indulge and tell us the number of children who would have been through this over the last whatever number of
So about 8-10 years, I think it's an operation. We work with ours as an NGO doesn't work with numbers. We go deep into each life and take care of them. So they are actually taken care of from the age of 8, and we follow them. They have a GPS anklet tied around their legs, and we know exactly where they are 24 hours a day. I'm just kidding, but we know what they're doing 24 hours a day. And even in midnight, we know what they're doing. So that's a deep kind of thing. So we work with about 900 children, and
and how many of those 900 have kind of made it to national level and international?
We've had 47 national champions. We've had 157 medalists. We've had about 17 international medals. We've also sent about, I think, close to about 75 kids. Some of the girls you saw here, their seniors have already been to 7 or 8 countries before the age of 15, representing India. So yeah, there's no doubt that we are very happy with the success, but we want to, what we need today, since we have KP Garu here and we have Sunita also here, the request is that we need numbers. So we have a fantastic capacity. We have 175, 180 boards. And we work at any given point in time only with about 75, 80 children. We don't work with more than that. Capacity is massive. What we want from you is from Andhra, from Telangana to send as many kids as possible, and we teach them completely free of charge. And from you too. So thanks very much if you're accepted.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Sohail, and wonderful job. You know, these numbers are not easy to achieve. You know, especially coming from giving access to children for whom this would have been a very distant dream.
Thank you.
In that sense. So thank you.
One small input. I think you were looking into my eyes. Bapatla constituency has got 100 kilometers of the coastline. And
Yeah, we'll occupy the full 100. Don't worry.
We are always welcome to come there, and I've also sent children.
I'm so glad that new opportunities of champions of change and leaders of legacy are emerging. The first one was IIM Ahmedabad and IIM Calcutta, and here's the second one that's happening, 100 kilometers of coastal stretch that you will get access to. With that, I'd like to move to Mayur. You know, and like I said in the introduction, the youngest of the people sitting on the stage here. You know, and usually most youngsters today want to look at running after the material things in life. What you jumping on the other side and the passion that you display in the work that you do.
Thank you very much. Very, very humbled to see, especially with ma'am and also all of you. It is in that 2005, 20 years back, Abdul Kalam sir was talking about achieving a developed India by 2020, and he gave a call for action. Not only the people representatives, but everyone, including a school or college going person, can contribute. So that taking that call for action in the campus of BITS Planning, we have started something called Save 1 rupee per day for the nation and teach 1 hour per day for the nation. And we started teaching 25 kids and rickshawalas. And one of the rickshawala and the girl child stopped coming for a week. We went outside the campus to only realize that the girl child dropped out of education because the father met with a medical accident. And henceforth, both are doing, mother and child are doing daily wage. So that hit us hard. That's the first time we have seen extreme poverty. And from there we came back and we have announced that what we started as, let's do something for the country, turned to whatever it takes, we'll build a youth movement. I'm so happy to share from that moment, we have determined that no child in this country, especially girl child, shouldn't drop out from the education. And that moment when we started of 25 children, now we've meaningfully impacted 30 lakh children and their lives. From the 10 students who were questioned that you are not sons of Tatas or Birlas or you do not have any political background, to the stage of proving to ourselves that from our 10 volunteers we are now 500 full-time people who are working plus 10,000 volunteers across the globe. So from that moment of 6,000 rupees, that is 200 people contributing 30 rupees each, which is 6,000 rupees in the campus of Rajasthan, BITS Planning. Now we are able to garner, channelize around 350 crores of money into the schools, into the hospitals and into the villages. Now we are into village adoption, we started that. And I'm counting my time also to keep it short. So I know your next question, what keeps us moving? So what keeps us moving is initially that high that we used to get when we are having a child, especially girl child, get educated. That used to give us high. And then gradually it moved to as they grow, making them stand on own feet. That employment when they're standing, that used to give us high. And when they started contributing back, EEG, educate, employ and give back, that started giving high. So at various stages, currently COVID, you very well know in Hyderabad, we have established 1800 ICU beds in the 105 government hospitals. And then later, Michael sir is also there, that whenever floods come or any disasters come, we have built, that gave us high. And last but not the least, now, as Kalam sir has mentioned, developing villages. We have developed, adopted 26 tribal villages now. And this is giving us currently high. We believe that India lives in 7 lakh Indian villages, and by developing clusters of 100 each, 7,000 such clusters, we will be happy to eliminate illiteracy and poverty from the country.
Fantastic. Outstanding. Thank you very much, Mayur. And thank you for bringing that energy. And quite often we see that energy, and more than the energy, that positive energy in all. If any of you not connected with him on social media, then you're missing out on a big FOMO. You know, every day morning or almost every day morning, he posts a small video of him dancing at various parts of the country because of the positive energy that he gets.
If you allow me, if the stage allows, we all will do chakde.
Once we finish this, we will do that for sure. We'll get that contagious energy from you to the rest of the room. With that, Ramu, coming to you, from civil services, the most coveted kind of position that most people want to get into. Here's someone who kind of decided to give all that up, get into villages, look at organic farming, look at working with farmers, looking at suicides in farmers, which is such a big national issue. Tell us about what you started and what gets you going.
So,
farmer suicides were the ones which disturbed me a lot. In fact, while preparing the civil services, I think it's like a journey. By the time I got there, I realized that's not the path which I need to be in. The, the, after my mother, I think the farmer is the next who gives me food. And they are dying in the process of producing food. I think somewhere there is, we are all going wrong. So we thought after studying agriculture for 10 years, somewhere I need to give back and then work here. So we started 20 years back as Center for Sustainable Agriculture and realized it's not just the economics of farming, but the natural resources which are used for food also are destroyed. So the groundwater, soils, diversity, completely we are losing, depleted everywhere. And we started working on it so that particularly organic farming came there actually trying to move away people from the pesticides. And then we also realized the third dimension, the food we are eating is the one which is responsible for the major deaths in the world today. We look at actually the total deaths. Large number of deaths today is because of the consumption of food wrongly or consumption of wrong foods. And so we tried to look at food and biosafety as another issue. That's another area we try to work on. And in all these things, now the climate change, we have seen the floods happening everywhere. These four are influencing food and agriculture significantly. And we are doing more of the same and couldn't get over it. So CSA, when we started, we tried to look at villages where we could make change, work with the farmers to make a transition towards organic farming, pesticide-free production and all. And today, our villages are seen as the models where there are no farmer suicides. The last 20 years, all the villages where we are working, we have not recorded a single suicide. Number of reports daily we see, not written by us, but written by many people coming, showing that this kind of thing. Today we work with nearly about 1 lakh farmers across the country, and the few villages which could actually fully convert into organic. And one important and milestone which we are going to achieve soon, partnership with again with Nirman, the Dantewada district in Chhattisgarh is going to become fully organic. We are nearly at 85%. Nearly at 85%. Every village, every farmer, we are touching them. Every farmer, every village. And all these taught us simple solutions are possible. In fact, we are complicating the things significantly. So, one is on production side, working with the farmers. Second is on the markets. Actually, market, whenever we talk about market, we think market is distant one. We are all market. If we make a right choice, I think things will change. We are all making wrong choices. If we all want to eat rice, but farmers, we want farmers to do away with rice. We all want to buy from the market cheaper food, but we want farmers to get better food. I think that's where the problem is. If we all change, things will change. So we made some experiments on marketing. Sahajaram is one where farmer cooperatives directly sells, and we also try to innovate on markets. One big thing happening in Andhra Pradesh is trying to link to the temples. So the Tirupati temple is now directly buying from farmers for the laddu and Annadana. So last year 30,000 tons was supplied from the farmer cooperatives. So we work on building the supply chain from there. So that's another area which we are working on. I think the last important thing is that the public policy. So unless policy changes, things are not going to change. We had previous government, the current government, the center talked about increasing the farmers' income by doubling the farmers' income by 7 years, but nowhere we reached that. Actually, we are going back. Today, the average income of farmers is just around 10,000 rupees across the country if you take. And the state we are sitting in, Telangana and Andhra Pradesh are worse. Our annual income of farmers is about 1 lakh rupees, while the indebtedness is about 1.5 lakhs in Telangana and 2.5 lakhs in Andhra Pradesh. So we earn to pay back the loans. And in 1928, I remember the Royal Commission on Agriculture, established with British, started the report saying Indian farmer takes birth in their indebtedness, lives in loans and dies in loans. And 2024 situation has not changed. I think that's what need to change, and that can only change with the policies. So all the other initiatives which are happening can only try to solve the problem temporarily. But the public policy has to change. I think that's what, yeah, I think that's what we need to look at. And thank you very much for giving this opportunity. Every time we interact with you, certainly we build new partnerships. One I think was with Anshul. We made Mitti after the TEDx. It was a movie we made on the agrarian crisis, and then that movie brought us a lot of access to people. Second, the academy which we have built, Krishna Sudha Academy, seeing the TEDx talk, people came to us, and then we have built this academy. This academy is in Vijayawada, which is a 40 acres campus where we are building the research and education on organic and natural farming, and then public policy and agriculture. Thanks. Every time you bring me here, I get new partnerships, and I hope more partnerships will be built from this day onwards.
The wonderful work you do deserves all the partnerships that you get. So thank you.
In fact, in Dantewada, we have been working for almost 10 years. We started with 400 farmers and now 10,000 farmers. All of them are getting trained by sir, and today is one of the first batch, last day. So we all will be coming soon to Telangana and Andhra Pradesh also, to each of our home.
Fantastic, fantastic. More power to the work that you do.
Thank you.
With that, we come to you, Brigadier. From an illustrious career in the defense, celebrated career, VSM, innovation, and all the wonderful work, and you say, that's it, now it's time for me to hang the boots and kind of take it easy. To a man with the energy that you have, what got you started in Palles Rujna, and what gets you going?
Thanks. Actually, it all started in the army. A soldier, when he has a weapon with him, in a context, it has to work and his mission has to be accomplished. And we have so many contexts. And the mission is one, it doesn't change because of the Rajasthan or Sichin or Punjab. So most of the times, soldiers innovate to ensure that the man-mission compatibility is the best to accomplish the mission. We don't notice it, but I feel that, let me make a statement, that generals plan the war and soldiers win the war. The idea is that on the point of the battle is a different situation they get. It may not be part of what they have been taught 100 situations, but yet they come out of it by innovation and of course passion for the nation. Now this over a period of time, I was in the electrical mechanical engineering branch where the equipment part was a major responsibility I handled. I saw this excellent accomplishment by Jawans. It was unnoticed, but we generally know what would happen. And especially Kargil was the time that we had the worst of the environment, short time, and all kinds of problems. But the innovation they did all over, top to bottom, was amazing. Now that gave me a hypothesis that maybe people at the bottom of the organization do a lot of things but go unnoticed. And which I noticed a lot because of the ground. I've seen a lot of things. And I thought it's only peculiar to armies. But when I came to Delhi in the last 10 years, we did a lot of other things, and we got connected with Professor Anil Gupta of IIMAAAHCCT and also Dr. Mashelkar, who started this National Innovation Foundation in 2000 through an Act of Parliament. Now we were connected to him by Anand Mahendraji, then went there, attended many meetings of the governing body. And there we saw that they are doing exactly what I thought, that they are trying to mine the grassroots creativity in the nation, which is there in the villages. And they believe it is there, and there's a lot of volunteerism, a lot of work is going on there, and it got impressed. And now I realize that it's not only in the army, it's there everywhere. And over the period of time, I saw that there's hardly any data from Telugu states. That time only one state, Telugu state. I asked a question, they said we have no volunteers in Andhra Pradesh to do this job. So I think that made me decide that when I retire from army, I come to my state, Telugu state, and do what NIF expects from volunteers, Telugu state. So I retired on 31st October 2005. And 20th November we started this Palle Sujana. And what does it mean? Palle means village and Sujana is creativity. So we believe that there is a creativity. We go with a conviction that there is a creativity and we go in search of it. We have no doubts that it is not existing. And when we go with that, we find it. We find a lot. The last 19 years, this is purely voluntary organization. We generally don't use funds of anybody. And hundreds of volunteers, maybe thousands I think, they all, we walk in the villages, known as Chinna we unlearn and go. Because we learn from them, listen from them, not tell them. And we found amazing journey what we have in these 19 years. We found them very creative and very samvedanashri. Samvedana is internalizing others' pain and feel the way they feel it. So you may call empathy, but I request you call empathy, but I request you call samvedana. It's a good word, very good word. So the samvedana we found, I think they find a pain here, or pain in him, and they find a solution for it. An example, the seeds, you put seeds, they all put bending and putting it. There's nothing, not even nothing, big things have come up, but one boy, Ashok, he saw the mother, his mother suffering, he made a tube. With a clip at the bottom, a handle here, and put a funnel on the top. And he said, Ma, put it down, put a seed and bend it like that. There's a small arch made in the front. You bend it so that the seed drops in and the thing comes up. This lady can do standing without bending not even once, whole day. And she does 1 day, 1 acre. Whereas 5 people would have to 2 days, 1 acre. And now just look at the social aspect of it, the economic aspect of it. This one rod, one tube called cedar, let's call it. It costs not more than 200 rupees, and you can use any recycled materials. There's no moving parts in that, except the clip. Now, it saves 2,500 rupees per acre per farm. And it doesn't do 1 acre. It can do 10 acres, 20 acres in a season. And it can not only 1 year, it can do 5 years, 6 years, because nothing goes wrong in that. Now, so much savings for the farmer. It creates demand, it creates jobs, it creates so much. But what is the investment for that? Nothing. Just a samvedana and volunteerism. They do with volunteerism. They task themselves that my mother should not suffer anymore. The volunteerism and samvedana are the two basic, intangible character parameters which make them go for innovation. You don't even see that. And the third system, there are lots of values. There's one more guy who made, I was talking about handloom. Handloom has got a lot of legwork, I'm sure you know. And they have to move their pedals, and push the pedals every day about 6,000 to 8,000 times. And each time a load of 20 to 35 kg is on their knees. And hold it, press and hold it. Imagine if they do it for 20 years, 25 years. By about 45, 50 years, most of them, their knees give up. And we don't know. And mind you, this is the second biggest unorganized sector in the country after farming. 28 lakh looms and 72% are women. And we have not addressed that. One boy, Shiva Kumar, was not a weaver, because he made an electromechanical machine, 1 foot by 1 foot by 1 foot. It is connected to the pedals, and this man, a weaver, has to do just with a big toe, press small switch. And that takes the load completely. So load from knees is shifted to the machine. Now they do continuously very number of times, very number of days. Even the old people, 70, 75, the women, everybody does it. Handicapped people, you put a switch. It's got a right, left switch. Those are no legs. Imagine how this comes about. And he's not even graduate. He has no money. He's got not even 1 rupee in the bank. Poor guy. He worked for 3 years. Now, I can go on showing it so many things. In Chittor, there is Chandrasekhar. For the weed side, we have all kinds of problems in our paddy fields or other fields. Now, he made a herbal solution. 3 liters of that, you put in. Of course, all these have patents and validation has been done before you ask the question. Now, this particular 3 liters you spread with the sand, mixed with sand before the transplantation of the paddy, weeds don't come at all. At all. And how does it work? Weedicide destroys the seeds of weeds. Not weedicide, herbicide destroys the seeds of weeds. Therefore, there's no weeds come. And look at the problem. We identify the problem of destroying the seeds, not removing the weeds. And that's the kind of a brilliance they have. And we already used more than 50,000 acres. I hope government does it. There's no government required. It's a question of person to person can be done. Like for so many such things made by villagers, what we do is we scout. Scouting is the biggest problem because when you go, nobody says I'm innovative. And they don't know when we are volunteers, we have no authority. We don't even ask them, what have you done? Is this, I have not done anything. But talking to unknown, getting trust of them and communicating is the biggest problem we have. So over a period of time, we learn to talk to unknown and get communication from them. And that we did for a period of time and we are comfortable now. Anywhere, any village we go, we'll be able to get the knowledge from them. But they hide it. They don't know it as a use for the whole world. They have no idea. We have to identify. And that's what we do, scouting, and then we do documentation we do. Documentation for them is so difficult because if you go and ask a question, he says, sir, it is there in front of you. He doesn't know how he made it. Now, if there is no documentation, we cannot connect these wonderful innovations to society.
Can't be scaled.
Can't be scaled. Now, scale is not even recognized because unless you make a documentation, we have nobody to accept it. Patents, awards, or business development, whatever you want to it. So, and they have no answer. So all volunteers go and sit in the village for 3-4 days and trace, talking to everybody around, how did it happen from identification of problem to till. And that is up like 5 years, like Malaysian took 7 years to make his small machine for his mother. So, so much has to be traced. And once the documentation is done, and we know the story of that and how the impact is taking place, it comes with a beautiful piece. And that is connected with the system. We apply for patents, and we have patent law as volunteers again. There are 46 patents today, and another 20 on the way. All uneducated people. And certainly not applied because the small thing is replicated, this will not apply. We have documented voluntarily in the last 19 years, very slow, we have no resources, and about 800 plus innovations in this, and more than 1,000 traditional practices were recorded. We had traditional practices, 14 of them got patents for that. Then we got 3 Padma Shris. Volunteers wrote the story of these people for the jury to get convinced about it. We got 7 international awards, 13 President of India awards. What more? So many things. This is the Award we got it for Mother Shiva. So many things are there, and then we also capture the creativity of children, school children. They are amazing. One Adivasi boy says, sir, why this pocket is still here? He asked me about 2 years back. I said, what's wrong with it? He says, sir, everybody in the villages put their phones here. He thinks some radiation will have a problem in the heart. He thinks. So this can be shifted here. Oh, most of the villages, they put phone here. So that's a kind of observation that I have. Imagine, we've not even thought of it by most of us.
But that's what you say always, the grassroots. And one of the things I have learned in my interactions with the brigadier over the last many years is if you use the word rural in front of brigadier, he really, at least with me, because he enjoys a special relationship, will come down with a ton of bricks saying, I don't know why we, the urban population sitting in the privileged, think that rural is anything downgrade. This is just grassroots, and I think the brilliant work you do to bring out this grassroots innovation and really take it to the world with all those fantastic numbers of awards nationally, internationally, absolutely outstanding. Yeah, sure.
We find that villages are source, not sinks. Villages are providers, not consumers. If we see them with all the respect and go to them and support them, identify their strengths and add on to their strengths, strengthen the strengths, but we don't recognize their strengths. Whatever we give may or may not stay there. I think it's a little bit different approach that might help. This is our understanding over a period of time. What a lot is the way it is. And knowledge is there in the village, so we have legs, we have to go to the knowledge. And we believe that we talk to people above 90 years in the villages. Every old man dies, a library is burnt. We don't talk to them, we lose the knowledge. That's what we realized about talking to all this. Anyway, it's a wonderful journey. Anybody who wants to walk with us, you're most welcome. And thank you very much once again.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Vijay, for the wonderful work that you do. With that, we come to you. Amazing thing, as you know, I keep talking about it quite often. Every time I see you and I think of you, 70 odd years old hospital running, as the world may call it, as a business. Wonderful work you do, and then specifically this move that you took.
Thank you, Vivek. First, I have to say, I feel so privileged to be part of this amazing group of people, totally in awe of what each one is doing. Yeah, thank you for this privilege. When my parents started, they started with 2 beds. And when they reached about 40 beds, they handed it over to me. So I was very aware that I had a head start in life and that I was very privileged. So I was very clear, I wanted to serve. I wanted to create an environment where any pregnant woman, if she came to us, she should be handled safely and she should have no fear. So with that vision, I took over from my parents and built a team, and then in about 7 years, the old hospital was bursting at the seams. So that's when we decided, let's tear down the old hospital and build a 100-bed hospital, totally dedicated, mother and child. To do that, I had to take a loan. So to take a loan, we had to convert proprietorship to private limited company. My parents were the founder directors. I was employee number 1. From the day the private company was established till today, we never touched the profits. There were no dividends. So my parents passed on, the shares landed on me. They were there, but it didn't make any difference to me. The money would just go back, and that's how we developed. We became a teaching institute. We were able to look after women who couldn't pay to women who could pay. We believed in the cross-subsidized model. And so with those values, when I was in my 60s, I said, I've been running this like a trust. Let me register it as a trust. Because when I pass on, there will be more governance, there will be accountability, and the values that we stood for hopefully will continue. So it was never really a business, it was a service. And so I continue to be employee number 1. I stopped taking a salary years ago. They won't let me off. But the biggest joy I got was handing over all those shares to the foundation and walking away. The lightness of heart, the freedom that now it belongs to the people and they are responsible for it. It was just business as usual for me, to be honest, Vivek. It was nothing extraordinary.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah. And Dr. Evita, before we come to Chuna, if we were to talk numbers, I know you are about 1,700 strong employees now. What would be some of the other numbers that Fernandez Hospital stands for?
In terms of volumes of patients, as a private hospital, we do about 10,000 births a year. And let me take a moment here. In 2000, the hospital was becoming a referral center for complicated mothers. And we began to get very sick mothers in ambulances. Some of these mothers would die because we simply couldn't do anything. And that tore my heart apart because you're dealing with 22-year-olds, 23-year-olds. I began to read about maternal deaths, and India had a very high maternal mortality at that time. I realized that countries that invested in a cadre called professional midwives as a very integral part of its maternal health system had very low maternal deaths. We didn't have a cadre like that. So the government was not interested at the time because it meant an 18-month training. So by that time, we were doing about 5,000 births a year. I said, I'm going to start midwifery in Fernandez to understand what a midwife is. And then I discovered that a midwife is an accountable person, has to be a nurse, 18 months of training. She takes care of the healthy women, but recognizes complications and is able to very quickly stem the situation and call the obstetrician in time. So that's how you prevent maternal deaths and infant deaths. And the other thing I realized, that when you have midwives and doctors working together, you can do far better work, because then the doctor can focus on the mother who's got all the complications. So when we began to work with midwives in Fernandez, our volumes began to go up and up. Telangana government was battling with very high C-section rates. So they got to know that we were doing midwifery, asked if we could train 30 nurses into midwives to help bring down the C-section rate. When they found in Karimnagar, where we started, the C-section rates began to come down, normal births began to increase. Women, because the whole foundation of midwifery rests on 3 principles. Birth is normal. The woman can give birth normally if she is empowered with the knowledge and supported with kindness, compassion, respect. Women began to birth with curtains around them, with a birth companion. The whole atmosphere changed. Compassion came back into public hospitals. Somebody in Delhi, the Ministry of Health, heard about this, sent a delegation. They went to Karimnagar, met the doctors, met the midwives, met the patients. December 2018, the government of India made a public announcement that all public hospitals across the country will now have a midwifery card. And we are privileged to train 68 tutors across 10 states of India. Each tutor then trains 30 nurses. So what gives me joy is the poorest of the poor today in Telangana, we've trained 353 midwives, is getting compassionate, respectful, dignified, highly skilled care, and has a birth companion of her choice with her, which a lot of private hospitals do not give mothers who are paying for that care.
Thank you. Thank you. I think that's what we call leaders of legacy. Legacy that you are going to be leaving behind. And with that, last but not the least, coming to you, Chinna. Again, not an easy space to work in. From coming again from having kind of worked closely in those 4 or 5 months with you at the hospital, coming from that accomplishment of being the youngest robotic surgeon in the country, extremely celebrated onco-surgeon, continuing to do wonderful work in that space, but also turning towards the whole cancer awareness and Grace Cancer Foundation and the outstanding work you do there. Talk to us a little about what got you going there.
Thanks, Vivek. Again, humbled to be with these luminaries here. what KP sir was mentioning when he was talking about the opportunity. I believe I was given the right opportunity as a kid, even as you give so much of education through Udbhav Schools. I was fortunate to be the first Navodaya student of the country way back in 1986. So that's where the country has invested in us so much and we need to give back. I think that sense, that deep roots were already put in my mind. And even as I became a cancer surgeon and a robotic onco surgeon, the biggest problem that I saw is majority of them present in late stages and outcomes are not that good. Today, if you hear about cancer, what comes to your mind? It's very scary. You have a very dismal opinion. It's simply because outcomes are not good in this part of the world because of two things. One is lack of awareness. The second thing is lack of access to screening or early detection. So I can recall a story of somebody by name Mahesh when I was early in my practice about 18 years back. He was a nicotine abuser from the age of 10. When he was about 25 with 3 kids, we had to do a major surgery for his buccal because of cancer. He recovered within 3 months and the family didn't have money to take back the body home. It was a preventable cancer. It was because of tobacco consumption. So what hurt me that time and what I thought was, can we do something to sensitize and to bring awareness so that what is preventable can be prevented. For example, if this is the second most common cancer in the country, cervical cancer, can be totally prevented with a simple vaccine, human papillomavirus vaccine. Hepatitis B virus vaccine can prevent liver cancer. So such things, very simple, but yet, they're profoundly so difficult to practice even in the educated crowd. So that's why, the birth of Breast Cancer Foundation happened to alleviate the cancer burden in the communities. And for the last 15 years, it's not just about, raising awareness, but also how do we detect cancer early, right? That's when we started mobile cancer screening buses, which are fully loaded with equipment like mammography, pap smear, X-ray. All the equipments are in the buses. And in fact, today we have a fleet of 6 buses. And actually the buses drive us to go to the villages, the unreached areas where they don't seek for screening. So apart from that, I think other work, what really motivates me is, since I come from a rural background, for the last 50 years, it's been my story of going every Friday to Nizamabad. And that's where we have established the only cancer center for the 5 northern Telangana districts, wherein a radiotherapy unit has been put, and every day we treat about 120 cancer patients under Awardees and government schemes. So I think it is very fulfilling, and you give back. Giving is really such a joy.
Thank you very much. And what keeps you going? It's not an easy space again, pretty much like most of the people on the stage. This isn't an easy space.
No, I think the smile on the face of a patient, the biggest celebrations for me is every time a patient comes to my room and they give sweets, they give, something from their village, they bring different kinds of vegetables, they give all kinds of gifts they bring with that joy. I think that is the biggest gift that I, get from them.
Thank you, and more power to the wonderful work you do on Grace Cancer Foundation in terms of awareness and all of that. I think that's what we wanted all of you to hear from our champions of change in this. So that's what we wanted you to hear, because quite often we don't understand that in some of these spaces, and you heard all different spaces that each one of them is working in. It's not easy, but there is something which is still keeping them going. And as you heard from each of them, it starts small. But I think that's where the seed, that's where the beginning is important, because then, as they say, people will come together and then things will become much larger. And I think today we've heard 7 outstanding stories of what each of them has achieved in their lives. And the last thing before we let these people go back to their seats and then invite them back one by one is just to kind of highlight that next Sunday, as I mentioned earlier, there is a Grace Cancer Run, which Chinna is running for any of you who is active runner, walker. Please do participate in that. That's something he does every year to really bring what he just talked about, the awareness and the early detection that can really make a big.
Can I make a small comment? Yeah, what started as a small awareness campaign, today the 7th edition, which has gone global across 120 countries, even in the US, in 25 locations, physical run is being done. And this has become a global big revolution, because October is the Breast Cancer Awareness Month, and we make use of this time to sensitize the communities and motivate them for screening for early detection of cancer. Thank you.
So we really work with these young children to provide them with good quality English medium, state board education and really make them ready for the world that we are looking at. We currently have about 1,000 students in these schools. They are located, for most of you who understand the geography of Hyderabad, they are located in Rasulpura and Fatehnagar areas. And as you may know, these are difficult areas in terms of the underserved people who live there. And we really wanted to build these schools in such a manner that they are in walking distance from their homes. Because one of the philosophies behind these schools was that the children should not really use public transport or any of those things, because quite often they become a reason for school dropouts to happen. The key parameters of people who work with us or children who study with us, they essentially come from, and let's go back to the previous one. They come essentially from a family which are in the underserved community. Many of them come from single parent families. We are very proud that 60% of our students are girl children. 30% of them come from single parent families. These are people who come from underserved communities. These are people who have low monthly incomes, and they study with us because we want really to get them ready and give them that access and that opportunity that we were talking a little bit earlier about. And geography, as I said, is because we want them to be really close to their homes so that they can come easily. Academic performance, I think we've done a fairly decent job with 100% pass rate from both the schools. With 1,000 children with 95% occupancy rates, our attendance is really at 88%. I talked a little bit earlier about one of the reasons is also the geography. I think in most schools today, one of the challenges that we see is the student to teacher ratio. The accepted norm at our schools is extremely child-centric. As you see the various words here, it is really about building a model which is scalable, which is able to take it to a much larger basis, because that's what our aim is. We currently run 2 schools, but we want to take it to 10 schools. We want it to be about mentoring. We really want it to be about working with the children so that they can adopt, they can become a lot more ready. We bring a lot of smart education. There is technology, thanks to the fact that we are born out of the IIMAAHCCT Alum Trust. A lot of the members, a lot of our alumni members in the room today, and some who are not here, come forward and help us to really focus on this child-centric approach that we take for our children at the Udbhav schools. This is just some pictures to show you the kind of life our children live at Udbhav schools. It's fully equipped with everything that a child should get access to, whether it's libraries, whether it is science labs, whether it is extracurricular activities, or anything else that the children need at our schools. We already heard about the success we've had, partly thanks to Suhail and to the children at our school, that we've really had some success with our sailing children. There are a few other sports also where our children have done well, but sailing clearly has been our star sport, thanks to Suhail. These are our pictures of our children who've been participating in the international competitions. Some of the children you saw earlier were in London a couple of months ago, and some of them will be in Oman tomorrow night. They leave for Oman tomorrow night to participate in another international. We are beginning the work on that. Hopefully in the next 1 to 2 years, we should have that model ready and start rolling that out in terms of an Udbhav digital. Our idea is really to give the access to these children in these schools or at their homes as we go along. All of this is what we are doing. Obviously, it needs to be coupled with the infrastructure, especially when it comes to the physical schools. So as you see here, that's our existing building in Rasulpura. As we are standing here, our new building is almost ready at Rasulpura, which is completely ours. So we want to, over a period of time, kind of take control of the asset so that our costs can come down and we can customize the premises so that they are best suited for learning. So that's our new proposed building, which will be ready in the next month or two. So it's already at almost advanced stages in Rasulpura. We will soon begin our work. This building is ready in Fatehnagar. We'll soon start our work in Rasulpura because we've acquired the land and our work on the building will start. So in both the locations, we want to have our own infrastructure so that we can control the learning environment much better. Now, if all of this is what we want to do and this is what we want to achieve, and really we want help from people both in this room and many who are not in this room. So some of you may be wondering, what can you do to help us? There are many things that you can do. Here are some of them. We really want a lot more interaction to happen with these children. Each one of us sitting in this room can bring a lot of value in our interactions with the children. So we want more and more of you to come and work with our children, speak to them, teach them, and as somebody mentioned earlier, that every time we speak to them, we also learn something ourselves. So that's one way. Second is to really help us connect to your organizations through the CSR or in the individual giving, or help us conduct some fundraising events. There was a mention earlier, KP did about a cyclothon. That was one of our most successful events we did a few years ago across the country, called cyclothon. And many, many people participated. This was in partnership with RBL, where they really brought a lot of their employees and their customers, and we really did a phenomenal job. And a lot of the work we are doing at schools today is thanks to that event we did much of it. So visit our school, come talk to our children, really interact with them, like I said, talk to them and help them to find career choices that they can make coming from your careers that you've chosen. Contribution, obviously it will help, because everything we do, intent alone is not enough. It will need to be backed also by some financial resources that we will need to put. So in whatever way you can help us to really contribute towards that individually or as a corporate will really be welcome. And help us connect, because like Ramu was mentioning earlier, I think the greatest power that all of us have is really to make those dots connect, because we don't know what will come out of where. So our request will be that you can also help us connect with various other people who may be interested in the space of education and who we can work with to take our intent forward. Some of our success stories, and I think that's what gives us the greatest joy, that it's not just people who pass out of our schools and do well, but here are stories of people who are paying it forward to the school. These are people who passed out of our schools, thankfully are doing very well in their careers, and today are participating and coming back and helping the school in whatever way they can. Sometimes it's financial, sometimes it's non-financial, but I think what counts is their intent of really paying it forward, which is what we want to take forward. So we are determined. We really want to make this difference. We are really out to set this out. We started almost a decade ago with these two schools. We are not going to stop here. We really have a long way to go. But as they say, if you really have a long journey, it's best to get as many people along with you as you can. And we heard 7 such stories from this stage earlier of how people started joining and how the impact really has become large. So here I stand really to make an appeal to come join us in whatever form you can and really make the Udbhav family grow and make an impact in the world, because I think the only way the world is really going to change is when these young children go out in the world and make a difference in a manner that only they can do with your and our support. With that, thank you very much. Join us in really changing the future of these children, and through them really changing the whole future for each one of us. Thank you very much. And you can reach out to us. Me and Vijay are 2 of us who are here. We also have 2 other colleagues who are part of our team who you can reach out to. Each of you would have seen a small booklet in front of you on the tables or on the chairs where you are. That booklet contains information on all the 7 people, and some of the stories that you heard about are in the booklet. It also talks a little bit about our guests of honor and talks a little bit about our school. It is something that's kept there for you to take away so that you can get that information and contact information, more particularly of the 7 champions that we have in the room. It also has a small tearaway if some of you have not looked at the book. It just gives you an opportunity to let us know in what way can we connect with you for the future. With that, thank you very much. And this was just a little bit of the work we do at Udbhav Schools, and we really need all the help and all the support that we can get. With that, we come to